Hi, I'm Les Nelson and I'll be your host today in Field to Feast Archery Deer Hunting. Now, Field to Feast is a series of videos that I've put together to help beginners have success in hunting and in fishing. In this video, I'm going to show you how to choose archery equipment that will give you success in the field. I'm going to show you how to find a place that will give you opportunities for game. And then I'm going to show you how to execute the hunt. We'll actually be on a hunt and you'll see me shoot a deer. And I'll show you how to find that game if it's got a trail and how to field dress the deer. And then I'm going to go beyond that and show you how to butcher your own game so that you don't have to pay a lot of money by going to a meat locker or to a butcher. Then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you some of my favorite recipes. I'm going to show you how to prepare a delicious meal that your family will love. So if you're ready for a great adventure in archery deer hunting, let's begin from field to feast. Well, we're up on a hill that's behind my house, and I've been given permission to hunt up here by the landowner. And this is an old apple orchard, and every year these apple trees produce a lot of apples, and the deer will come through here 2 or 3 times a day looking for apples. Now, I'm going to do 2 things today. We're about 5 weeks from the beginning of bow season. I'm going to put out a salt block here in a few minutes, but first I want to tell you about how to select a bow. Now, the bow that I have, I bought used on eBay. You can get them at bow shops too. It's important that you realize that in the last few years, bow technology has advanced very quickly. And if you get a bow that's 2 or 3 years old, it's going to shoot very fast. And that's what you want, as much speed as you can get for the weight that you pull. Now, I only pull about 52 pounds. I'm not a big person, and I can't pull 60 or 70 pounds like a lot of hunters do. So I need a bow that'll shoot really fast and doesn't require a lot of energy to pull. This bow is a Diamond Stealth, and it has a long riser. This middle part is called the riser. And so it has parallel limbs. It's a very modern style, but there are a lot of bows that don't necessarily have a long riser that also store a lot of energy and are really fast bows. It does have a single cam. This is a single cam bow, and in a compound bow, a modern bow, when you draw your string back, the energy is stored in the cam, and when it rolls over, the back of your draw is actually about 30% lighter than full draw strength. And so it allows you to be able to hold your string back and anchor it for a long time, holding on, waiting a deer to get in a perfect position. Now, this bow I paid about $310 for on eBay, and it was only a year old when I bought it, and it's still a very fast bow. So go to your local shops, find out what they have. A lot of hunters are trying to upgrade their equipment. You can get into a good bow setup for under $400. This bow has a stabilizer bar on it. It's a weighted piece that allows you to have a natural rock forward when you release your arrow, and it helps make sure that you have consistency in your shot. I recommend that you get a hooded sight. That the hood needs to be made of metal. This part right here needs to be made of metal to protect your sight pins from getting bent or broken while you're hunting. So make sure that's protected. And I use sights that pick up the sunlight. These are a fiber-optic sight. In the back here, I use a peep. This is a peep sight that's woven into the string. And when I draw it back, it looks like right now it's parallel to my eye that I wouldn't be able to see through it, but when I draw it back, it opens up the circle that's in the middle, and I can put the pin right into the middle of the circle, and I'll be able to sight that shot every time. I also use a kisser button. Now, a lot of hunters don't use kisser buttons, but when you draw back to full draw, you need to have points of contact on your face so that you draw the same way every time. That's what's going to make for consistent shooting. I use a kisser button that goes right into the corner of my mouth, and when that kisser button goes in, I know that one anchor point is at the exact spot I want it to be. This is a loop for a mechanical release, and it allows the knock of my arrow to be on the string, and then for my mechanical release to actually draw from directly behind the arrow. And that also slows down or reduces the vibration that you feel and that would cause the arrow to vary or move off course. So it's good to have a loop on, put on your string. Don't use the metal loops that you can buy in the discount stores because they will wear the string out. Use an actual nylon loop and it will not wear the string out. These are shock dampeners, and they also make the bow quieter. They reduce the amount of vibration you feel in your hand when you release the arrow. A modern bow shoots very fast, but it also causes some vibration. It's kind of like different styles of cars. Their doors may make more noise or less noise when you close them. Doesn't mean that they don't work properly, but you need to reduce the sound as much as you can on your bow. Some bows will be louder than others, and this will help take care of that. I'm using a drop-away rest, which is a modern rest, but there are a lot of good rests that you can buy that will work. I recommend for a beginner to get a whisper biscuit. It allows you to set your arrow inside the arrow rest the exact way that it needs to go through the arrow rest every time. But this is a drop-away rest. It's also a great rest to buy. They're pretty expensive and they need to be installed by someone that's a professional at a bow shop. The last aspect I want to talk about is your draw length. Everybody's draw length is a little bit different. And my draw length is 26 inches, and that's the distance from the beginning of the draw to your anchor point. Now my anchor point is 26 inches, and that's pretty short. So I have to make sure that I get a bow that will be able to be fitted to 26-inch draw length. A mechanical release makes your draw length shorter. So when you're at a professional at a bow shop and you're checking bows and they're checking you for your draw length, make sure you check and get a draw length that fits with mechanical release. Most bows have a little bit of flexibility in the way they can be set up. So you can order a bow online safely that will have at least a couple of inches of variation in the way you can set that draw length up. But you need to check it out. That way, when you come to fall, you'll have the equipment that you need set up in the way that works for you, and you'll be able to feel secure in the reliability of your bow and all of the accessories that are on it. You'll be able to have a successful hunt. You'll feel like you're ready. You'll feel confident. When the deer comes into your path, you'll know that you'll be able to take that animal and you'll end up with a successful hunt. Okay, I'm going to be setting a mineral block right in this hole here. This is where I had a mineral block last year, in that big hole. And right over here in this big hole, that's where I had a mineral block the year before. My stand is right over there. I'm just going to throw that right in there. The deer have made quite a mud hole out of this. And I'm going to throw in some dirt. I'll get that little sticker off that. Don't want to be a litter bug. I'll take that back with me. Now in this place, I'm not going to worry about burying the salt block too much. The deer are used to coming here. And I've only got 5 weeks since a big salt block, so they're not going to be able to walk away with most of it. In a lot of cases, when it's a new place that I'm putting a salt block, I'll dig a hole, drop the salt block in it, and they'll lick it down and then they'll start digging it out. And obviously they've been digging on this for a year. So we'll leave it just like this. Yeah, I'll be in the stand right up here, and then Dan, the cameraman, be up in that stand right over there. And both these stands are really high. The prevailing winds in the fall are usually from the north. They'll be blowing across here. This isn't a perfect setup because you really want to have your stand be downwind of the main walking area for the deer. But most of the deer do come in from my west side, so they'll be coming in and not being able to smell my scent. When they come in this close and I'm so high, if there's very little wind or no wind, they'll never know that I'm here. Even if you descent by washing your clothes in unscented laundry detergent and you use unscented body wash and put a cover scent on, you can be scented by a deer that walks downwind of you. your body produces a scent vector, which is a cone-shaped area of scent that comes off of you and blows downwind. And in this case, the deer are going to be coming from upwind, and that's where I want them to be, but my most open areas for shooting are right here that is almost downwind of me. But in any case, they'll be coming into my salt block, and they'll be coming right by my stand, and I'll get many opportunities to have a successful hunt. So always work the wind in your favor whenever possible. Now I think we'll just leave this salt block to do its work, and I'll be back in about 4 to 5 weeks. Several weeks before the season begins, you're going to want to get your bow out and start target practicing. Even if you were shooting dead on last year, your bow may have come out of tune, and so you need to get your bow checked to make sure that it's tuned up and it's ready to shoot. And then what I do is I shoot in my backyard. I have a simple, inexpensive target that I bought at a discount store, and I start shooting. Try to shoot 12 arrows a day if you can. Some of you don't live in a place where you can shoot in your backyard. Almost every town has an archery range within pretty close proximity to your home. So just look in the phone book or look online. They can show you where an archery range is. Now I'm going to be shooting 85 grain target tips today because I'm going to be shooting 85 grain broadheads when I hunt here in about 5 weeks. And I use a retractable bladed broadhead that shoots exactly like my field tips. And so I'll be shooting 85 grain field tips. It's important that you practice with the same weight that you shoot with. And if you're going to shoot with broadheads that do not retract, you need to shoot with those broadheads. You need to practice with those broadheads before you go in the field. I'm going to shoot at 20 yards. And I'm using a caliper style mechanical release. And you'll want to pick up one. You can check them out at your discount stores or at your sporting goods stores and find one that fits you well and feels good to you. Now, the off-colored fletching on my arrow, that's called the cock feather. And I'm using a drop-away release, so it's not important where the cock feather is as I put it onto my string. But it is important for a lot of arrow rests that you make sure that your cock feather is sticking out. You don't want the cock feather turned towards the body of the bow, or it will push off the body of the bow and it will throw the arrow's flight trajectory off. You don't want it hitting the riser when it comes across. I'm using a drop-away rest so the arrow actually doesn't touch anything as it leaves the bow. But for most of you that'll be deer hunting using an arrow rest, that is, it's important that you have the cock feather turned out. Now as I draw to shoot, I want to always make sure that I have 3 points of contact at the back of my draw so that I know that I'm anchoring at the same place every time. Now I have a kisser button that'll go right in the corner of my mouth, and then I touch the tip of my nose to my string, and then I also feel the back of my ear with my hand. And then I release. Make sure that you don't pull or yank on your release, but you squeeze the trigger of your release very softly. And it's important that you use a mechanical release because a finger release on a modern bow is not consistent. You have to have consistency. So I'll shoot another one here. That one went in a little bit low. See if I can cluster these. It's not so important where you hit, but that you hit the same place consistently, and then you can change your sights. Then you can change your sights to adjust and move your grouping of arrows closer to the targeted area. Now I'll shoot my third arrow in a cluster, and I always shoot 3 arrows every time so that I can have a cluster in which no 2 arrows or farther than than 1 inch apart. All right, let's go see them. Now you'll notice that even though I'm just getting started with preparing for the season, these 3 arrows, not any 2 of them are farther than 2 inches apart. So this is a pretty good cluster. All I have to do is move my sight. I'll move my sight down into, well, actually directly straight down, and it'll move my cluster right here into the center. And that's what we want to do. You want to have a nice tight cluster. If they're not tight, you're doing something different on your draw. And you've got to draw an anchor the same way every time. Otherwise, you'll be inconsistent on the stand. You'll miss the deer, or you'll hit in an area that's not a vital shot, and the deer will get away. You want to make sure that you have success.